Okay, so welcome. We're doing the solo show again, the live stream, American Gladio. Everybody get in the building. First of all, point of scheduling. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern Time, 5 Pacific. I've arranged. We'll see if it goes down. I never say for sure that something's going to happen, but God willing, at 8 Eastern Time, 5 Pacific, I'm going to be interviewing Gary J. Byrne of the U.S. Secret Service Uniform Division. He's written this book, Secrets of the Secret Service, as well as Crisis of Character, which you've already seen reviewed on this channel. If you want to go look at it, I will add the video URL later. Don't know why I didn't add it now, but generally, it's good that I started off talking about books, okay, because people can spend a long time writing an amazing work of fiction, and it just doesn't get appreciated until after their death. For example, the author Philip K. Dick, who, and yes, I think that was his real name. He published a lot of the stories like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep that became Blade Runner. It was the basis for Blade Runner, the movie that I thought I would see today, but I'm here doing this. So, and essentially, there's people that work a long time writing. I've been writing, for fun for a long time. I still do blogging. I used to try to write fiction, could never finish a story, even though I'd like to think that I'm a pretty good writer. Which, by the way, I'm probably going to be joining the writing staff of YouTube slash independent news channel in the near future. They just have to get me my information, so I'll do a video on that. But today we're going to talk about the difference between writers that are publishing information in order to inform other people, and then there's writers who publish information in order to attract a great deal of publicity, so that they can sell books, or that they can sell whatever product it is that they have. Mark Twain, not to compare the authors we're about to talk about today, but Mark Twain used to be a writer of fake news. That was a legend. When we were in elementary school, they used to tell us, or was it middle school, when we read Tom Sawyer, they used to tell us that he was so bored as a newspaper writer, he used to make up fake news. So in a certain way, CNN is keeping up the tradition of Mark Twain. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. But the writers of today that are going around and publishing. Welcome, Chris Jones. By the way, I see you're in the chat. Hoping that you tune in tomorrow with Gary Byrne. But we're having this issue today with the media that people think that they can publish things, and they can throw something at a wall and hope it sticks. That's their attitude, especially with regards to the Trump administration. But it's not as if it's the only place it started. I mean, in order to generate the frenzy for wars, in order to take down an institution that the media does not like, the journalists very often will make things up and violate the code of journalistic ethics and integrity as well. That's a topic I've talked about. That's not necessarily connected to electoral politics. Everybody wants to talk about how Fox News is faux news, and MSNBC is MSDNC, as Lionel calls it, or MSNB hee haw, as Larry Elder will call it. Well, yeah, those networks are full of shit in many different ways, and they're not, in some ways they mirror each other, but in some ways their styles are a little different. The fact of the matter is that people have called Fox News fake for very long time, And then they didn't even blink when NBC hired Megyn Kelly from Fox News, and MSNBC hired Greta Van Susteren, as well as Hugh Hewitt, who's known more for conservative talk radio. But it's really arbitrary who's fake news and who's not, depending on who the establishment media supports. And I'd like to pose a question here before we really dive into these these quote unquote writers like Michael Wolff that we're about to talk about. How is it that he's getting so much attention and so much publicity, and he's the talk of the town, and you see his bald, ugly head rearing its rearing itself on every cable news station now? How is it you see him everywhere? Well, Julian Assange, who's not a writer, but he just publishes documents. He just says, "Hey, I have this stuff on the Turkish government. Look." That's what he does. How come this Michael Wolff gets more attention, gets more publicity? People are really trying that they're really striving to believe it when you give them actual documents, which Julian Assange publishes, and you can question the motive. You can say, oh, he's just trying to smear people. Okay, fine, but it's a document, and and he can in many cases he can prove that these documents are genuine. Okay, so why is it that he's treated as some sort of pariah and he has to hole himself up in an embassy in the UK, the Ecuadorian embassy, when he's publishing things that are not tampered hearsay that you kind of you happen to come across when you're sitting in a hallway listening to other people talk. That's not what he does. He publishes actual documents. Okay, I want to ask you. I want you to take that and put that in your mind when you read about these factual inaccuracies that PolitiFact, which is a source, everybody talks about fact checkers in the media. In reality, fact checkers in the media are no more dependable than other journalists, than the journalists that they fact check. You can see in many of PolitiFact's articles that they parse the words of certain people and go really in depth and go to the literal meaning of everything they say and say, well, it did, for example, with no-go zones. Let me see here. So they rated. Let me see here. Trump was talking about no-go zones, and they couldn't even come up with whether it was a true statement or not. No-go zones in Sweden. The Atlantic says the origins of Fox's favorite Muslim no-go zone myth. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you can debate what the definition of a no-go zone is, and then say, well, I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as a no-go zone. Well, I'll tell you what. You drive over to Hamtramck, Michigan, and if you're a woman, and try to walk around in a low-cut dress, and you tell me whether that's a no-go zone for you, because the whole issue here is what the hell is it? Okay, so let me see here. They don't even have. Here, February 20th, 2017. This is factcheck.org, and they say Trump exaggerates Swedish crime. Swedish authorities and criminologists say President Donald Trump is exaggerating crime in Sweden as a result of its liberal policy of accepting refugees from Syria and other Middle Eastern countries. Statistics show there has been an uptick in some crime categories since the country took in 160,000 asylum seekers in 2015, but experts said there is no evidence of a major crime wave. Okay? So that was on February 20th. And now I'm doing this raw. I don't even have any of this. I'm starting this now. This isn't. So November 16th, 2017, Bloomberg says a crime wave engulfed Sweden as fraud and sexual offenses reach a record. And this is from Nicholas Magnuson of Bloomberg. So that they'll go for months and say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. A no-go zone. No-go zones don't even exist. You're some sort of, you're living in a myth or something. What else is here? I mean, PolitiFact in that previous one, it was February 20th, 2017. It said that crime had gone down. Okay. What we're basically seeing is people, the Swedish government, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to. They would rather the rest of the world believe that everything's great in their country, as opposed to protecting their actual citizens. This was admitted. Now everybody wants to talk right now about how we should believe the FBI agents who are investigating Donald Trump, but you have here. This is from February 20th, 2017, the same day. And it says Trump may have garbled the message, but Sweden is experiencing a migrant crime wave, according to a cop accused of inciting racial hatred after online. So you have police officers who are admitting that. So who the hell is PolitiFact or any other publication to talk about, oh, the statistics indicate crime is going down? Well, you've been lying with statistics for a long time, and you've used statistics to pass all these things like Obamacare and to talk about all of these different ideas that you think are going to make the world better, and they don't. They just don't. And when they don't do it, when you say, oh, bringing immigrants in enriches our society, and it doesn't, it actually does the contrary, and it actually makes the immigrants themselves feel unsafe. Okay, I'm kind of on a tangent right now because we were supposed to be talking about Michael Wolff, but this is about media dishonesty. They're encouraging our countries, the United States, Britain. If they could make Japan do it, they would do it too. They want them to take in immigrants from the Middle East and other third world countries, claiming that it will make their lives better. But in reality, when you have these zones of poverty just become teeming with crime and anarchy, then no, you're not making the lives of the immigrants better. You're actually harming the lives of the people that have already lived there, the longstanding residents, and you're actually making the people that are living there, the new immigrants, also unsafe. So you're hurting both of them. And if you want to see evidence of that, just look at any of these videos of riots in France that happen all the time, literally all the time. They just riot there and burn all the shit down there. It's like a hole now, France. So that was just to illustrate how they're comfortable presenting a lie as truth for months and months. As long as they can, they will present, hell on earth as heaven eternal. That's basically the way that the lying corporate media does it. And once in a while you'll get, the Daily Mail is a little more honest than the other ones. You know, you got the Daily Express over in Britain. That's my favorite one because they, you know, they shit talk the European Union all the time, which is it's a special, it's a delicacy for me. It's like when you buy one of those pastries from like a Turkish bakery or something. Well, that for me is the Daily Express. I'll just go on there and I'll be like, yeah, this is some real shit talking here. Sorry about that, but you've probably come to expect that. Anyway, so PolitiFact did do a fact checker's guide to Michael Wolff's fire and fury inside the White House. And he goes through, for example, he said that Wilbur Ross was Trump's choice for labor secretary. It was actually commerce secretary. Let's just show the screen too. I got the name of a reporter wrong from the Washington Post. Okay, it was Mike Brennan, not Mark Berman, or Mike Berman, whatever. What else is here? So then there's another one where he has a he recalls a private conversation where Steve Bannon attacked Ivanka Trump, calling her a fucking liar. Then he says, "I told you this is a tough town, baby." That doesn't sound like Donald Trump or Ivanka Trump or Steve Bannon. It sounds like I don't think Steve Bannon would have done this to Donald Trump's face. Okay, and that's even with all the other stuff that people are talking about with Bannon, and for you know, for Wolff to think that any of these people are going to pretend that this happened is, I mean, you can see that he just he's throwing all, he's putting everything on the dice, everything on you know, on lucky seven here. Okay. What else is over here? It says the book's depiction of the reasons behind the firing of FBI Director James Comey is particularly brutal. In the book's telling, Trump fires Comey because his family is terrified. Comey's investigation of Russia will lead to investigations of the Trump and Kushner family finances. And though Wolff's sourcing for this isn't exactly explicit, the idea is actually supported by an on-the-record interview Trump gave to the New York Times in which he said Mueller should stay away from his family's finances and keep the investigation confined to Russia. And then, you know, most of it is about, you know, talking about how Bannon said this or whatever. But let me tell you something. A lot of the things that he said, for example, there's one thing with Anna Wintour. I think she's the publisher of Vogue. Yeah, Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour, who's no fan of Donald Trump, was said in the book to have been proposed as an ambassador to the UK. This has been denied by Anna Wintour. So, you know, who does he rely on to verify the accuracy of any of that? He doesn't have documents in the book. He doesn't have any sort of corroboration by anyone. Now, there's an author that I've read his books. His name's Ed Klein. He has this book here called what is it? Blood Feud: The Clintons versus the Obamas, where he does use a lot of sources that go unnamed to talk about the uneasy relationship between Barack Obama and Hillary and the Clintons, the Obamas and the Clintons. But First of all, Klein says in the beginning, yes, I rely on people that are close friends of the Clintons and the Obamas, but they never went. The media never went to Edward Klein and gave him as much hysteria as they have with what's his name, Michael Wolff. And the fact is that Edward Klein, who is the other author that I'm talking about at the moment, he's a former editor, foreign editor of Newsweek, former editor in chief of the New York Times Magazine, and a contributing editor to Vanity Fair. And he lives in New York City, whatever. But the point being, okay, this guy was publishing information where he alleged that the Clintons and the Obamas hate each other. That, for example, that what's her name? Not Cheryl Mills, the Valerie Jarrett, who is Obama's second in command, that she sabotaged a lot of Clinton's projects as Secretary of State. So he was reporting that. He was reporting that Michelle Obama would shit talk Barack Obama about why he even hangs out with Hillary Clinton, why Hillary Clinton is even allowed to be in the cabinet. So if those salacious rumors that Michael Wolff published in his book are so credible, then I think we should be giving equal time to Edward Klein. After all, it was a tremendous work of fake acting that they did in 2016 when the Clintons and the Obamas were at the convention and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama hugged on stage. It was one of the most cringe-worthy moments I've ever seen. Let me see if I can get that. We got I have to do this, so you know. You got John Travolta, you got Putin, you got Kim Jong-un, Trump, you got it's a love fest here. Biden, that's what they had on stage. It was the most ridiculous sight I've ever seen because these people don't give a fuck about each other. The only thing they have in common is their business model. Just taking a look at the chat. Are you guys like fighting or something? Talking a lot about cucks. That's encouraging. Okay. Gabriel says, I hope President Trump sues Wolff back into the Stone Age. Well, I think it would actually be better if one of the other people in the book sued Michael Wolff, because it would probably be a little more difficult for Donald Trump to get a fair civil lawsuit. Just saying up front. Pinochet says, media schmedia, fire up the helicopters. Well, it worked. It worked before for him. But in any case, let's maybe we'll come back to that. But let's look at a different topic that's been going on. You have this Oprah mania going on right now. Jeez, I hope Oprah has some sort of cure for upper respiratory cough or something, because this tea isn't working anymore. But I do like the chamomile flavor. Here's a story from ambiguously gendered CNN contributor Sally Cohn. It says Oprah would make an exceptional president. Tell us why. In the hours after Oprah Winfrey's inspiring speech at the Golden Globe Awards, CNN's Brian Stelter reported that friends close to Oprah have said she is actively thinking about running for president in 2020, and progressives like me could not be happier. Yeah, she's about as progressive as a stone wheel. That's how progressive Sally Cohn is. She works for CNN, So how progressive could she be? To be clear, progressives have spent much of the last 2 years lamenting the idea of a billionaire TV star sitting in the Oval Office, and for good reason. Donald Trump has repeatedly demonstrated himself to be a narcissist with no interest in learning about the nuances of policy, let alone government. Elitism, ignorance, and selfishness are always dangerous variables in political leadership. Trump, perhaps unique among any leader in modern political history, possesses all three. Even his strongest allies can hopefully admit his presidency has been sloppy and short sighted. That, in fact, is putting it gently. Oprah deserves her own category for most things in life, and this is no different. There are TV stars and movie producers and charitable leaders and public intellectuals, and then there's Oprah. Her singular ability to connect with people of all walks of life and build empires to help them, especially those most marginalized, is unparalleled. To put a finer point on it, Donald Trump built buildings. Oprah has built our shared values and humanity through the scaffolding of her money, of her voice, and the architecture of her moral leadership. Donald Trump made money. Oprah made a difference. And in Oprah, we see the quality that we should always look for in our political leaders, someone interested in using her time and talents to help others. Whatever your party, whatever your beliefs, the people we elect should work for our interests and not their own. And Oprah has already demonstrated as much. While she has certainly made quite a bit of money, she has done so through lifting up others. Perhaps the better analog to Oprah running is not Trump, but Ronald Reagan, a Hollywood figure with genuine experience and expertise in political leadership. Like him or not, and I certainly fall into the latter category. Before Reagan ran for governor of California, ran as president, he served as president of the Screen Actors Guild Union, working on behalf of others to improve policies and practices for everyone in his industry. He was interested in helping and serving others and parlayed. This has nothing to do with Oprah, by the way. Uh, so she says, though I don't support any or whatever, I don't know what Sally Cohn defines herself as. I think she defines herself as, some sort of ethereal energy creature or something. I don't support many of the things Reagan did in office. He was qualified to serve both in principle and in practice. By the way, for those of you that don't know, they were saying when Reagan ran for office that he was crazy. Okay. So is Oprah. Her civic and business experience is prodigious, from her production company that's produced justice-oriented films and television shows to her philanthropic work, through which she's given hundreds of thousands of dollars to support educational opportunities in the United States, Africa, and around the globe. And in the wake of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, for instance, Oprah personally donated over $10 million to build homes across Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, and Alabama for those displaced by the storms. Unlike many of Trump's donations, which were publicized but never made, Oprah's donations were made but often not publicized. In many ways, Oprah's story is the aspirational story of America. Born in rural Mississippi to a poor, unmarried teenage mother, Oprah spent, and if Sally Cohn had been there back then, she would have told that mother to have an abortion, and we would never have had Oprah. So let me point that out. But Oprah spent her childhood shelling between family members with so little money that she often wore potato sacks for clothes. That for sure, Sally Cohn would have been like abortion right away. That would have been her. That would have been her go-to. And yet, despite continuing hardships, Oprah managed to find a toehold in a black radio station, and from there, due to her talent and persistence, climbed to the top of the media universe, for redefining and reshaping it forever. Oprah's story reminds us all what's possible, or should be possible, for everyone in our great country. And at the same time, Oprah's story reminds us of the implausibility of such success, the hurdles that so many must overcome, and which cause many more to stumble, of the injustices and inequities that also plague our nation. As she made clear in her Golden Globe speech, Oprah knows the unique power she represents. She recalled watching Sidney Poitier receive the Cecil B. DeMille Award years earlier, and the impact it had on her, saying, "Is not lost on me at this moment. There are some little girls watching as I become the first Black woman to be given this same award." Oprah has the power to shine while understanding how her spotlight can help others, and using that power in a strategic, service-oriented way. That's called leadership. Of course, part of the appeal of an Oprah candidacy is the prospect of our increasingly reality TV-like political atmosphere. But beyond that, there's just something magical about Oprah herself. A somewhat singular figure in a somewhat singular moment in a somewhat singular nation. I don't really believe in the smug nationalism of American exceptionalism, but I believe in Oprah exceptionalism. I think Oprah would make an exceptional president. Now, if that is not the beginning of a cult, then I don't know what the fuck is. I don't really believe in the smug nationalism of American exceptionalism, but I believe in Oprah exceptionalism. Do you understand what that means? Now, the problem I see with that is this. Okay, I understand a lot of you are fans of Donald Trump. I know two of you or so, or I think are friends or are fans of Nigel Farage. Okay, but I hope that none of you think that they are exceptional gods or something. Now, Gabriel, right away, yes, I do. Whatever, okay. But honestly, we all know that Nigel Farage, for example, who I think is great. I think he's fantastic, by the way. Yeah, he can make mistakes, he can get things wrong, and he never claims to be infallible. And Donald Trump maybe has a little more of a swollen ego, but he does have, he does say, I can't guarantee things are going to happen. Okay. Oprah exceptionalism. What the fuck does that even mean? So Sally Cohn, who has for the past year ran around like a fucking chicken that's been beheaded, is now grasping on to Oprah as her demigod. And this is CNN. This is the worldwide leader in news. That's what you call journalism. This is disgusting. This is literally this is propaganda. And I remember last year the most comparable story was this one from Lenny or what's her name, Lena Dunham. It's Virginia Heffernan, and this is from A Simple Fool. Okay. Yeah, they took it down. Okay, but let me see if it's in archive.is. Okay, you have to see this. I know all of you, all the people that are watching right now are kind of, you guys are kind of on the same page as me. We all see this bullshit, and we're not buying it for 1 minute. Okay, I hope so. I hope there's nobody. So, okay, yeah, didn't have it. but yeah, there was a page that said, let me see here. Virginia Heffernan. Oh, okay, there was A Day Without Hillary Clinton. She writes, okay, get ready to laugh. These are people, they call themselves, the true journalism. Okay. A Day Without Hillary Clinton. Beside my bed is a miniature portrait of Hillary Clinton. Holy fuck. What a miserable life. Yeah, these are the people that got us to where we are today. And unfortunately, they're not, they're not committing themselves to mental institutions because, honestly, if Donald Trump were to be impeached, I would probably face reality and say, look, there were things that I supported, that he supported, and that he worked for, but we do have to work to accomplish those things. The idea is not to promote Donald Trump as a human being. The idea is to promulgate a lot of the work that he's trying to get done. If you agree with it. Now, there are a number of things I've disagreed with him on, especially his conservation stance. I think he is going a little too aggressive on the oil drilling and on the national parks and whatever. But there's a difference between criticizing a politician for a policy that you disagree with and going and due to reacting to that person by proclaiming somebody else, another television star, as and Oprah is exceptional. Oprah, I believe in Oprah exceptionalism. That is worship. That is religious cult, brainwashing, and that's what we're getting from our media today. Now, besides that, I did include in the in the description of the video, where you can watch later, you can watch right now. Uh, you want to talk about people that are that they help fake shit get in the news. Oprah is famous for hosting psychics on her show all the time. All the time. There was I think John Edward was on her show a bunch of times. I believe both before he. I think, was John Edward the one that came clean and said that he's not really a psychic, or was that somebody else? But I included a video from a different psychic that she had on the show, and that's the audience that she plays to, these middle-aged housewives that need something to hope for. So they'll watch this woman who is superficially like them, but lives a life that they can never dream of ever attaining. Oprah is a fantastic person. In terms of her accomplishments, I can't say I watch her show because I go to work. I don't watch daytime. I don't watch any TV. But if I was, it wouldn't be daytime TV. Okay. But I mean, admit it. Even if you guys wouldn't vote for Oprah for president, she made a ton of money. She had an amazing run, dominating TV, all those clothing lines and whatever. There's no reason to disrespect her, but to say that she deserves to be president based on the fact that she's got like a magnetic personality and she's able to, and she's so successful, and yeah, she does help people, like Sally Cohn says. That has nothing to do with reality. Oprah's political philosophy is a mystery. We don't know what she really believes. It's very likely that she would be just a smarter, more secure, personally stable version of Barack Obama. And I wouldn't support that. Now, would she be an awful president? I don't know, but there's actually, come to think of it, stability in Oprah. Gabriel says she's a racist piece of shit. Yeah, I've heard that too, but I don't really care about that because because I don't think it's really that important that she says something. Well, anyway, we can talk about that a different time. But the bottom line of what I'm talking about here is that we don't need to just jump on the bandwagon of people that happen to be charismatic and have done a number of good things. Now, why did Donald Trump become president? Well, he discussed his ideas for many, many years about trade, especially about Japan at the time, and then later about what's the other country there? China. Sorry, I had a little brain freeze for a second. But Oprah used to host him on her show, and he would discuss those ideas. And to be honest with you, I don't know if he was the most sophisticated thinker for many years, and he could have run for president back in 2000, and he didn't end up doing that. But understand this. Donald Trump running for president was not something that started on the spur of a moment because of some awards show. And by the way, the Golden Globes now is the worst place to launch, anything political. The people there are not trusted. They stab each other in the back. They're all complicit in some sort of, keeping secrets and leaking secrets and doing secret shit that you shouldn't be doing, whether it's drugs or cocaine or rapes or child porn or something. I would, if I was to be running for political office now, I would not be trying to make any ties with Hollywood. Their reputation has really taken a dive. And this was, I mean, look, even before what happened with the Harvey Weinstein stuff, which I've talked about plenty of times, there's another thing that people in certain parts of the country, they like to watch some movies on TV or in the theaters, and they don't want to hear, political viewpoints from these actors and actresses. This happened in May. There was a congressional seat that was up for a special election, and the Democratic candidate John Ossoff had all these Hollywood people come in and campaign and run around. Samuel L. Jackson and I think Chrissy Teigen and a bunch of other people campaigned to win the seat. And his opponent didn't have really that many people, but it backfired. And the Republicans held the seat, and it wasn't even like the Republican candidate was that good in the race. It's just that people know that like Gabriel is saying right now, which I agree with, movies are crap now because of PC and feminists. They ruin Ghostbusters. They don't have real ideas. Larry Gerke's here. He says, "Greetings, gang. Bold like a leopard, Augusto and other guys. Sorry we're late." Well, Larry, you can tune in anytime, but I do want to tell you tomorrow I am having an interview at 8 Eastern time, 5 Pacific, with former Secret Service Uniform Division Officer Gary Byrne. Hopefully, things can happen, but we have it scheduled for 8 Eastern time. So, Pinochet is getting really, really like amped up here, man. You should be Pinochet. I like that you're here. I hope if you're the type of person that I think you are, you're also lifting weights while watching this podcast, because this would be, basically that's perfect for me. That's how I envision you over there lifting weights and possibly, in some sort of warehouse surrounded by cocaine or something. But if you want to just sit there and drink chamomile tea like I am, that you're also welcome to do that. But anyway, so we were talking about journalistic integrity for since the beginning of this live cast, and we've talked a lot about the presumption of innocence, and they kind of there's an intersection there, intersectionality, guys. Kodak moment, guys. Intersectionality. There's an intersection between journalistic ethics and the presumption of innocence. They've presumed that Donald Trump is guilty for colluding with Russia for so many months. They've presumed guilt, but they don't have any proof of it. That is, at the same time, a violation of their journalistic integrity, their code of ethics. We were talking about the Michael Wolff books, Inaccuracies, and I have the link here to the Forbes opinion article by Paul Roderick Gregory here. Okay, so I'm going to share the page with you. And this guy is, this guy's a contributor for Forbes, and he says, a former British intelligence officer who is now a director of a London private security and investigations firm has been identified as the author of the dossier of unverified. Now, this from last year, okay? So it was before we knew all the shit that's going on. So this guy knew that this was bullshit even back then. Unverified allegations about President-elect Donald Trump, Trump's activities and connections in Russia, according to the Wall Street Journal. A Christopher Steele, a director of London-based private intelligence company Orbis, purportedly prepared the dossier under contract to both Republican and Democratic adversaries of then-candidate Trump. The poor grammar and shaky spelling, plus the author's use of KGB-style intelligence reporting, however, do not fit the image of a high-end London security company run by highly connected former British intelligence figures. The PDF file of the 30-page typewritten report alleges that high Kremlin officials colluded with Trump, offered him multi-billion-dollar bribes, and accumulated compromising evidence of Trump's sexual escapades in Russia. The dossier comes from former British intelligence officers appears at first glance to give it weight, especially with Orbis' claim of a global network. The U.S. intelligence community purportedly has examined the allegations but have not confirmed any of them. We can wait till hell freezes over. The material is not verifiable. President-elect Trump has dismissed the dossier's contents as false, as has the Kremlin. Excuse me. Trump is right. The Orbis dossier is fake news. I've studied Russia and the Soviet Union professionally since the mid-1960s. I visited Russia as a scholar, as the head of a multi-year petroleum legislation project, and as a business consultant close to 100 times. My first visit was in 1965, shortly after Nikita Khrushchev's removal. I have a wide circle of friends and acquaintances in Russia, and I follow the Russian press regularly. I personally witnessed the creation in the early 90s of Russia's giant energy concerns in the offices of the oil minister. I met with St. Petersburg officials in the early 90s, but do not remember meeting then Deputy Mayor Vladimir Putin. I've written and co-authored reports for the State Department, Congress, and the intelligence community, so I sort of know how these things work. With the brief exception of the early to late 1990s, Russia has had a non-transparent system of rule that deliberately reveals little about itself. Both insiders and outsiders must look for subtle signs and signals. Russians and Russian experts are gossip junkies. They recite their tales of who is up and who is down to those foolish enough to listen. Outside researchers must grasp for flimsy straws to write their scholarly articles and books. Despite the greater openness of contemporary Russia, we are back to criminology to learn how Putin's kleptocracy works. The Orbis report makes as if it knows all the ins and outs and comings and goings within Putin's impenetrable Kremlin. It reports information from sources from anonymous, trusted compatriots, knowledgeable sources, former intelligence officers, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials. The report gives a fly-on-the-wall account of just about every conceivable event associated with Donald Trump's Russian connections. It claims to know more than it is knowable, as it recounts sordid details of prostitutes, golden showers, bribes, squabbles in Putin's inner circle, and who controls the dossiers of compromat, or compromising information. There are two possible explanations for the fly-on-the-wall claims of the Orbis report. Either its author, who is not Mr. Steele, decided to write fiction or collected enough gossip to fill a 30-page report, or a combination of the two. The author of the Orbis report has one more advantage. He knew that what he was writing was unverifiable. He advertises himself as the only Kremlin outsider with enough reliable context to explain what is really going on within Putin's office. As someone who has worked for more than so he just keeps going on, and what else is here? The story of the purported bribe was picked up by the Russian liberal press directly from the Orbis report without comment, but with a big question mark in the title. A 10.5 billion euro bribe. Putin and Sechin gifted Trump 19.5% of Rosneft's shares. This story has given Putin's weak opposition the chance to accuse him of wasting national treasure on a stupid bribe. So then he goes on to talk about how, even though it's unverified, this report immediately got coverage in like the German media and everything. But look, okay, these people, they're desperate to stick anything to Trump. So they're so desperate that they've ruined any integrity that they used to have. Now back to the beginning here. These are publications that they've refused to give due coverage to the contents of WikiLeaks, which are actual documents. Now, look, documents can be forged. However, when you have documents that, they indicate a conversation that's consistent with a timeline, and the people involved don't deny it, then I think it has much stronger weight than an unverified dossier of information that contains no documentation. It's pretty much a bunch of hearsay. Okay, and one of the stronger reasons for rejecting this type of fake reporting is the manner in which it became so famous. Now, it was leaked, I believe, by by somebody associated with John McCain. The dossier was, and another thing that happened was that we now know that Bruce Orr, who was demoted today, that's in the description. He was demoted from the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces. This Justice Department lawyer, he took this dossier from his wife, who was working for Fusion GPS, this opposition research firm, and he said to his bosses at the Justice Department, "Hey, we can use this to get Trump." And that's basically what has happened here. And that's the difference between principled journalism and hack journalism. When you have people that are willing to believe anything they want in order to frame the world according to a truth that they think exists, even though it doesn't manifest itself anywhere, then you're dealing with people that are delusional. You're dealing with people that would say that they believe in Oprah exceptionalism. It's ridiculous. If you believe that one person has that singular ability to do something that nobody else can, but then you criticize Donald Trump for being a demagogue and a dictator or whatever, then I'm sorry, you really have no case. Okay, there's plenty of reasons to say yes, Donald Trump is flawed. He's done things that are wrong. He's made mistakes. He may be. You can criticize his motives too. You can say, oh, he's full of shit, or you can say yes, he does discriminate against Mexican Americans, for example. You can lay that case out too, but you can't just throw salacious allegations at people and expect them to stick just because you don't like them. So you guys, so Larry is talking a lot about, Pinochet left. So he says he has to put the kid to bed. So have a good night, Pinochet. Can't believe we're saying that. But yeah, you guys are talking about the amateur sex stories in the dossier, which was apparently it was a bunch of fan fiction that was just adapted into the dossier of some sort of urine fantasy or something that I don't know why they picked that. Makes literally no sense. And you know what? I think that we're creating something. I'm not talking about just me. I'm talking about the people that I know that you follow, and you guys, and anybody that comes across this type of material. And there's and if I didn't have this channel, then there's a number of other people that do the same type of stuff. But we're creating the alternative to that. That it's alternative media, obviously, but we're creating a group of people that we do like to bounce ideas off of each other, and to arrive at a truth that we all know must be there, but we don't throw out allegations that have no basis. Gabriel says, do you think it was written to spy on Trump? Are you talking about the dossier? The dossier, in my opinion, is a document that is kind of akin to the protocols of the elders of Zion, which is it's a well-known hoax document that was meant to generate anti-Jew sentiment. It's very similar to even better than that. Forget, because the protocols of elders of Zion, I think maybe that's a little far-fetched of a comparison, but Clifford Irving was a well-known author who forged the Howard Hughes autobiography. Okay, so it's a hoax. It's intended to make a glorious amount of money. And he says you've read the Howard Hughes fake autobiography. That's pretty cool. But basically, we have an issue here where people, they know that there's a large public that's willing to believe anything about a certain subject. And, in this case, it's Donald Trump. And, they'll supply information and they'll make it look like it's in some way credible, or it's credible in the minds of these people. Now, if you really look at the dossier, it's actually incredible for people that are the well-trained observer of everything that's been going on. It's simply salacious rumors and lies and innuendo and a bunch of other things that are simply unverifiable. And like I said, why is it that you can't believe documentation released by WikiLeaks? You don't have to like WikiLeaks. You don't have to like Julian Assange. I happen to think Julian Assange has redeemed a lot of his reputation. There were things that were said about him that were very inflammatory. There was a rape charge against him, which was kind of you do take things like that seriously. But Julian Assange has gone a long way to redeem himself. He's not an angel himself. We can't worship Julian Assange, but he does release documentation, and that's an advantage between his source or his publication and the publication of a Michael Wolff or this Christopher Steele clown. Furthermore, he says the top officials at the FBI must have known this. Well, I think that the top officials at the FBI were completely in partnership with them. I'm replying to the chat here, but the other issue here, when you want to fit your agenda into a story, that's how I became. I hate to use the word woke, but I became aware, if I can use the word aware, of this huge disconnect between the modern media and journalistic ethics. It was a rape on campus, a story in Rolling Stone where they claimed that this girl had been gang raped, and then it was discovered that the incident that had occurred, it was alleged to have happened during a frat party that never happened. They weren't able to verify any of the information there. Her friends doubted her story and actually came clean and said that no, she doesn't know what she's actually fabricating it all. And yet Rolling Stone refused to recant the story for months. And meanwhile, the University of Virginia, where this happened, was completely inundated with protests and threats and intimidation. And the administrator that was listed in the article was harassed nonstop. And eventually, Rolling Stone was revealed to have falsified it. Gabriel asks, "Is it the one where she carried that mattress?" No, it's not the same one. But that's another excellent example. Okay, very similar example, Mattress Girl. That was Emma Solkowitz. So I'm gonna leave you now. I kind of have to go, but let's talk. Yeah, Mattress Girl, Tawana Brawley. You have lots of these things. Look, we should investigate rapes, but we shouldn't get sensationalized over it. But if we allow people's agendas and their desire for there to be a problem to exploit, to get in the way of looking for an objective truth, or at least the closest thing to an objective truth, then we really don't have a free media and a free press. So have a good night. And remember, tomorrow, 8 Eastern time, 5 Pacific, Gary Byrne, Secrets of the Secret Service. Have it right here. And have a good night.